Okay. All right, well, we'll get started. So, welcome to the Perkins State Leadership Informational Webinar 2025. Next slide, please. Just some Zoom meeting reminders. This is being recorded and it will be available probably tomorrow after it's uploaded to YouTube. Please turn off all mics and cameras during the presentations. And attendees are welcome to unmute to ask questions or be on camera. Also, we do have a Q&A chat. So if you have questions about the information session, if you could put those in, and at the end of the presentation, we'll go through the Q&A and we will answer those questions for you. Next slide, please. Okay, next slide. Tina, we'd like,
Hello, everyone. It's so good to see you all today on screen, and we're glad that you're able to participate. I'm Tina Jackson. I serve as Assistant Commissioner of Workforce Education, and just glad to bring you greetings and say thank you for all the great work that you're doing across the state. Leadership is an important piece. We know that this is the work that really helps us to scale programs that are working, programs that are promising, and programs that are evidence-based and have been proven to be important in order for us to get to those goals that we have with building a talent strong Texas. So this year we're doing something new, and I'm excited about the three areas that we are focusing in on. Those three categories are emerging high demand credentials. Important work. We've been talking about it a lot this season during session and just in general over the past 4 years. We're also looking towards recruitment and retention of post-secondary CTE educators. Another important category, there's such a need, colleagues across the state, to continue to build the next faculty member, the future of the field in general. And then last but not least, prison education and reentry support, which is also a new category this year for our Perkins State Leadership Grant programs. So we are really fortunate to have a new commissioner with a new vision, and I'm just grateful that in that work, we are aligning to building a talent strong Texas in order to strengthen our ability to get to those goals that we have. Thinking forward, I just wanted to also share that as you move forward and you think about this work, this important work around leadership and innovation, remember that this will allow us as a state to strengthen our workforce development. It will allow us to enhance student outcomes. It will help us to continue to build strategic partnerships, not only with you all colleagues, but also with your industry partners. And last but definitely not least, it'll help us to reach our goals for 2030 to really get to those goals that are implemented now through House Bill 8 and also focusing on high value, high demand credentials of value. I'm glad to be here with you all. I look forward to listening in. Thank you again for participating today, and we look forward to working with you with the Perkins State Leadership Grants. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Dr. Patridge.
thank you, Dr. Jackson. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome again. I am Dr. Audra Patridge. I've been with the coordinating board since June of 2018. I serve as the Assistant Director of Workforce Education, and I oversee day-to-day Perkins activities, basic and leadership. I'm just really happy to be here. As you know, if you have any questions, concerns, you can reach out to me or any one of our wonderful staff. A unique thing about me is I'm a house divided. I went to A&M and UT, but during football season, I'm a Aggie all the way. I worked for over 20 years at both 2 year and 4 years, and I'm grateful to be at the coordinating board doing statewide level work. And now I'll turn it over to Aaron.
Hi, everyone. I'm Erin Sarpinoff. I'm a grant coordinator with the agency, and I joined the workforce education team in 2022. I have over 15 years of experience in higher education roles working with students, and my current hobbies are video games, and I consider myself to be a perfume enthusiast.
Next slide, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tanisha Short-a-Lot, and I have been a higher education practitioner for the past 20 plus years. I currently serve as a program director and the fiscal lead for basic and leadership grants. Once again, welcome.
Next slide, please. Okay, now, so we're going to get into the presentation. And so we're going to keep our cameras off so you can focus on the presentation at hand. Next slide, please. As you know, this information session is for the Perkins State Leadership Program. And Perkins State Leadership awards competitive awards to eligible post-secondary institutions, and it supports the state priorities to enhance statewide impact and regional impact for the states. As Dr. Jackson mentioned when she brought us greetings, just with the new commissioner, we have new initiatives, and those three categories are emerging and high demand credentials, recruitment and retention of CTE educators, and then prison education and reentry support. Next slide, please. So there have been some questions from the field about executive orders and how that may or may not impact Perkins. The responses in red are from Douglas Brock, our legal counsel. I'll just give you about 30 seconds to kind of read what his responses were. Also, as executive orders come in, we are keeping abreast of those. And if anything does affect Perkins, we will be letting the field know. Next slide, please. Here are some friendly reminders for the State Leadership Grant. Next slide, please. What's new? So the Field-Based Innovation Program and Perkins Excellence and Access Opportunity Program will phase out August 31st of 2026. We will be launching a new website this June when the application opens with the new categories. All applications must be submitted in the Perkins portal. All grant periods are now only 1 year with the possibility to extend an additional year. So you'll start off with a 12-month grant. There are no more summer meetings that are required. Grantees who are given an award will now be required to present at a state or national conference. And this is in line with Section 124 of Making a State Impact. Also, as you know, we launched a new Perkins Data Dashboard, and that is available for you all to look through in terms of certain core indicators that align with Perkins. Next slide, please. Friendly reminders. So quarterly reports are required. The dates are December 10th, March 10th, June 10th, and September 15th. Also, expenditure reporting is on a quarterly basis. There are no monthly expenditure reporting accepted. For equipment purchases, should be made by April 30th. Email amendments are no longer accepted with everything going through the portal. If you have an amendment, you can submit that amendment through the portal. Also, from our grants and contracts division, you have to your sam.gov registration must be active. We are asking institutions to go back and see to make sure that this is active, because when we go through the process of contracts, if it's not active, then your process will be stalled and we'll have to push it back. And so we don't want that. If you have an expiration date that is October 25th or I guess longer, then you are in good shape. We will go through who's applied at the in this process, and if we need you to update your sam.gov, we will let you know. Next slide, please. Also, we have technical assistance documents. The Perkins staff has worked really, really hard to make sure that if one of us wins the lottery, Perkins can still go on. And so we have the administrative manual, the allowable cost guide, equipment guide, Perkins data resources, when to amend your application budget, and a budget planning guide. So I'm really proud of all the input that the staff has done to make these available to you, and we encourage you to use them. Next slide, please. Erin?
All right, so in this portion of the presentation, we'll just walk through the eligibility criteria, program details, our grant categories, the benefits of applying, and some tips for submitting a competitive application. So you can go to the next slide, please. So let's start with who can apply. All public two-year post-secondary institutions in Texas are eligible to apply for the state leadership grant. Specifically, colleges offering career and technical education, or CTE, courses leading to industry-recognized credentials, certificates, or associate degrees. You are encouraged to participate in this grant application process. The state leadership allocates funding for the activities described in Section 124 of the Perkins Act, and these funds should support initiatives that benefit the state overall, rather than solely the eligible institution. And selected projects must adhere to the provisions set forth in the leadership request for applications, or the RFA, clearly support the criteria, goals, and objectives presented in Section 10 of the RFA, and use funds received to improve career and technical education programs as described in Title I, Section 124 of the Perkins Act. You can go to the next slide, please. All right, for the grant awards, the funding and timeline are as follows. Next slide, please. We have approximately $3.82 million available for Perkins Leadership grants. The grant fund period runs from September 1st, 2025 through August 31st, 2026. It's a one-year period with the possibility of extension. The important deadlines that we have, or I'm sorry, the eligibility is Texas Public two-year post-secondary institutions, and it's one application per institution. And then the important deadlines that we have are that the application opens on June 11th, 2025, and then the due date to submit your application and the application forms and federal certification forms is July 9th, 2025 at 11:59 p.m. Central Time. And you will submit your application via the Perkins portal, and the forms will be sent, submitted via Smartsheet. So we're going to try and open up the Perkins portal link for you so we can show you what the login looks like. We'll see if we can get this to open up. Great. Okay, so if you're not familiar with the portal, this is what the login screen looks like. To access the application, you'll sign in to the top portion there where it says original application. And you'll have an application number and password that we issue you to sign in to the portal and start building your application. And you can go back to the PowerPoint slide. And we'll see if we can open up the Smartsheet page for you. So you can see what that looks like. Yeah, so this is the Smartsheet page that we have. We have just the instructions at the top and some of the grant information here for you. But we've also linked the forms here just for your convenience. If you need to access them here, you can. But you should be able to access these forms, fill them out, and once they're completed, you'll go through this other section here, adding your information from the drop-down menu, or the different drop-down menus. And then you should be able to upload all of your forms all at once. And then just select your submission date and the option to send a copy of your responses to yourself. So you have a record of the submission and we have the record as well. But that is the Smartsheet page for you. You can go back to the PowerPoint slide. Thank you. And then the next slide, please. So we have three categories of funding this time around. You can go to the next slide, please. The first category is the high skill, high wage credentials. For this category, your project should develop or enhance programs leading to emerging and current high demand credentials, must involve collaboration with local industry partners, and your project focus should align with House Bill 8, emphasizing workforce needs and student outcomes. And the funding amount for this category is $300,000. You can go to the next slide, please. Category 2 is recruitment and retention of CTE educators. For this category, your project should support strategies to attract industry professionals into CTE teaching roles. And funds may support professional development and mentorship initiatives as well. Your project must support your project must support House Bill 8 goals related to student success and workforce readiness. And the funding amount for this category is $260,000. Next slide, please. All right, and category 3 is the prison reentry programs. For this category, the project would fund short-term CTE programs in correctional facilities, focusing on in-demand skills and wages above the high school level. It requires partnerships with correctional institutions and local employers, and the project should aim to support workforce development and economic mobility. And the funding amount for this category is $200,000. You can go to the next slide, please. And this is Audra's.
So when you go through your application process, and you'll see this in the RFA, there's a project evaluation plan where you'll be required to have goals and objectives. So we want you to understand that in the RFA, which is not released yet, it will be released. There are expected outcomes, and based on those expected outcomes, you will have to create your objectives. And so an example of that is like the goal title is enhance the quality and relevance of CTE in Texas to better prepare students for workforce post-secondary education. And then a measurable objective is going to be, June 25th, increase the percentage along with industry by 15% from 60% in 2023 and at least 69%. The one thing that I want to be transparent about is, the state is moving towards, when you do goals and have goals and objectives, those outcomes have to be quantifiable. We have to begin to start tracking and really documenting our goals and objectives and what our outcomes were. And just remember, yet again, it's for state impact and not your specific institution. Next slide, please. This is another example. And then the verbiage, this verbiage is actually in the RFA. It says that expected outcomes in RFA section 7.3.1 must be included as objectives in the applicant's evaluation plan. While there may be additional objectives, the plan must include the 3 expected outcomes for each category. You'll notice in the RFA that each category has 3 expected outcomes. Any objective that encompasses an expected outcome that includes increased number, improved rate, or reduced rate must include a numerical target and a method by which the institution will measure achievement of that outcome. And this is just really basic. Like, as basic as you can get. So, like an example, expand prison education and reentry programs by increasing the number of formerly incarcerated individuals. So, your current data points would be 2,000, but your aspirational data would be 2025, and just including the method by which you're going to measure that achievement. And then I gave a second example at a very high level. Next slide, please. Just to kind of recap, a maximum of 5 goals. One of the goals must address special student populations. The goals must include expected outcomes from RFA section 7.3.1 for the grant category. Each goal can have numerous objectives, but objectives should be ambitious but realistic and attainable. Does anyone have any questions about the expectation for the projects and goal outcomes? Yes. I don't know who wrote that. It says, is one application purchased for the submission only? So a college can submit a single application this round, even though yes. Correct. I think that's Samantha, but yes, correct. Yes. Any other questions? Next slide, please. Oh, Gracie, I see your hand. You can unmute. Oh, do I need to unmute you?
Sorry, I
Okay.
didn't mean to. I'm so sorry.
Did you have a question, Gracie? Yes or no?
No,
Oh,
ma'am.
it's me. It's me. Sorry. Gracie sent me her link. This is Alicia Hodge.
Okay.
I just had a question. Because on the example that you gave, it was increasing the number of students who were going through reentry. And I
Mm-hmm.
know that we have to like demonstrate statewide impact. So how would we know? Because the grant size on the reentry was like $200,000. So
Mm-hmm.
what do you expect for like statewide impact with the size of the grant, I guess is what I'm asking.
When you say the size of the grant, will you say like the number of like?
Because it said I think the max was like we could request $200,000.
Mm-hmm.
And so how many students would we be expecting to serve to show statewide impact, I guess is my question. With the size of the grant.
Okay.
Or would we demonstrate it in another way?
I would say, let me think about it, but just at a high level, I would say the number of students don't necessarily quantify statewide impact. They could be a part of the impact. For example, if you did a pilot program,
Okay.
and you had 25 students, right? So after you get the data from that pilot program, then you could rescale it for the whole state and say, hey, we did this pilot program for 25 students. Institutions are different. Like a bigger institution may be able to use 50 students or 100 students, but it's the state impact lies within that pilot and being able to be replicated across the state, not necessarily how many students you used.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Can you choose only one category? Yes, it's one of 3. Yeah, so we're not expecting you to choose all 3. Tina, I think this is a question for you. Can you define reentry, what the commissioner's initiative is for reentry? Okay. Mindy, are you on? Mindy?
I am. I was muted.
Okay. Can you kind of talk about the reentry part for prison education?
You bet. It's an important part. Uh, Reentry refers to the process of leaving incarceration and joining into one's next stage, whether it be education, employment, or both. Um, it can be a rocky transition, and as we know, recidivism, people, going back in, is a problem. People who go through prison education programs and have reentry services can benefit greatly from those services. They can help people get established. They can just help people get their lives in order as they're reentering. So that's what it is. Audra, does that answer, or do you want me to
That was Gracie.
reference something else?
Yeah. Gracie, is that good for you?
So reentry, can they be like on probation, parole? Is there a time frame that they have to have been released, or are they pending release?
No, no. Reentry services can actually begin while someone is still inside.
Okay.
Um, Anticipatory counseling and, learning about needs and things like that.
Okay. And
It's not a formal process connected to the justice system, so it has nothing to do with probation or parole.
okay. And then one last question. You said prison. Can we also work with our local county sheriff detention center?
Well, now that's a good question. How have you defined the scope of the grant, Audra?
Um, we'll get back to you.
Okay.
If you could put that question in the chat. I think I've looked at that RFA a lot, but I don't recall specifically that item. So I don't want to say something that's not correct. Any other questions? And just make sure you put it in the Q&A so I can get back to you, Gracie. Okay. Oh, Gracie, I think Tina's back on. Maybe she can answer that question. Do you want to ask it about prison education?
Yes. So my question was, can we work with our local county detention center for the reentry and developing CTEs with them, or does it have to be a state prison?
We have not, you know what? I'll have to get back to you on that. I would say that under the definition of what reentry looks like, definitely the areas that you mentioned fall under that category. That's something that I can get a specific answer because I don't think that we name it in that way. But I definitely think that it's worth a follow-up email. So if you could email me or Audra or Aaron or all of us, and then what we'll do is we'll make sure to give you a definite, direct answer to that. What I know a whole lot about reentry, and what I would say is that we know that there are different pathways with prison education work, and that is definitely an area that provides wraparound services to make sure that students who are incarcerated are successful as they go back into their community. So I would say that, definitely that's something I just want to give you an official response since it's something I don't think we mentioned in the RFA, but it sounds like it would be in that category.
Okay, and when I send the email, I can give you some more background. We currently work with our county detention center, providing them GED, but not CTE. So that's where my brain was going with that.
Oh, okay, that's great. I'm so glad to hear that and glad that you're interested in doing that. We need as much work as we can in that area. So really glad to hear about the work. And please do follow up and we'll get you a definite, right on point answer so that you can move forward.
All right. Next slide, please.
All right. So why should your institution consider applying? Applying for the grant would strengthen workforce development aligned with regional and state needs, increase credential attainment in high demand fields, improving student outcomes, foster innovation through new curricula, professional development, and outreach, build strategic partnerships with industry, correctional facilities, and community organizations, and leverage federal funds to expand impact beyond baseline efforts. It would support Texas's strategic initiatives like building a talent-strong Texas and House Bill 8, and enhance your institution's visibility as a leader in workforce innovation. You can go to the next slide, please. So what makes for a competitive proposal? To stand out, your application should include a clear alignment with your program goals, addressing high demand credentials, educator development, or prison reentry, have a strong rationale supported by data, research, or proven strategies, have measurable objectives with specific achievable outcomes, innovative approaches to potential for regional impact and scalability, a sustainability plan to continue activities beyond the grant period, evidence of partnerships and collaboration with key stakeholders, a plan for dissemination and ongoing evaluation of results, and a realistic budget and timeline aligned with your project activities. And a tip that we have for you for our applicants is to focus on how your project addresses statewide needs and contributes to Texas's workforce development plans, like we mentioned earlier. You can go to the next slide, please. So to meet that statewide need that we've mentioned, you can make sure that you're leveraging partnerships with multiple institutions and industry players, develop models that are easy to replicate and adapt, share best practices through conferences, webinars, and online resources, make project outputs publicly accessible, like your curricula, any guides, toolkits, etc. Align your project with statewide priorities like building a talent-strong Texas. Build regional coalitions to support scaling efforts, or maybe start with pilot programs in select regions and expand based on any lessons learned. And ultimately, the goal is to create sustainable, adaptable models that maximize workforce impact statewide. And you can go to the next slide, please. So now we're going to get into the application process and its requirements. Go to the next slide. So some key steps include submitting your notice of intent by June 23rd, 2025. The notice of intent is what we'll use to create your application number and password to log into the Perkins portal for your application. You'll submit any inquiries about Perkins leadership by June 27th, 2025. And just make sure your application has clearly defined objectives, evidence-based strategies, and sustainability plans, as well as detailed budgets, partnership roles, and project timelines. Next slide, please. All right, so this is the portion of the presentation where we're going to look at some screenshots of what the application in the portal looks like. So after you would log in, this is the menu that you'll see to start building your application. We have these tabs, the cover page. Section 1 is the application evidence. Section 2 is your narrative, and then the evaluation plan, and Section 3 is your project budget. And you'll be able to select each tab and go to that page and start submitting your information. You can go to the next slide, please. So for the application evidence portion of the application, we have a form that we will need you to fill out. And this form is, it's one of the application forms that you would submit to Smartsheet. So in this section in the portal, we do have the form linked here for you, as well as that Smartsheet link, so you can access it here if you want. But we're gonna click on the application evidence form linked in the slide so we can show you what that looks like quickly. So this is the form. We have some information and instructions at the top here. And then we've also linked the Texas Evidence-Based Grant-Making Model and Decision Tree from Texas Workforce Commission to help you identify your evidence tier that most closely aligns with your proposed project. We also have the Smartsheet link here in case it's needed. And let's try and see if we can open up the Texas Evidence-Based Grant Making Model so you can see what that looks like. That's a document that we created to just explain what this portion is. So we have the definitions of the tiers here. We've got glossary of terms and some links to resources that will help you gather information to submit your response here. But this will be on the website for you, as well as in this form itself. So you can exit out of this. Thank you, Wanda. All right, and then if we'll scroll down a little bit, you can see that we are offering some bonus points depending on the evidence tier that you select. These would be factored into the evaluation of your project. When we go through the review process, we will give additional points depending on the tier that you decide. You can scroll down to the next page, please. So after you've done your work and figured out what evidence tier best applies to your project, you would select it here on this page, and then you'll just go to the proper section in the form to start submitting your information for your evidence tier. So you can scroll down, Wanda, to the next page. You'll see we've got the high evidence and moderate evidence sections here. And then if you keep going, you'll see the sections for the performance tier section. And then the next page should be the additional information there, and then the remaining tiers for experience program tier. And then if it's a brand new program, we've got the spaces here for you to submit your responses. So that is the application evidence forms. You can close out of this one, Wanda. Thank you. And we can go back to the PowerPoint slide. All right, and the next slide, please. So in this section, this is going to be the narrative portion of your application, where we have 6 questions here that we would need you to submit information for. So the first question here is your demonstrated level of commitment, and then the second one is your demonstrated student need. And we've given instructions here with each question on the information that we're looking for in your responses. You can go to the next slide. And then 3 is your project plan. Your purpose and your goals will be listed out here for your grant project. And the key staff is question 4. So this is where you will list people on your team that are going to be implementing the project. So we are familiar with who they are and what their expertise is. You can go to the next slide, please. And then 5 and 6 is going to be the extent and durability of your project, or the sustainability of your project. And number 6 is your replicability of your project. And you can go to the next slide. All right, and then the evaluation plan of the application, this is where you will list out your project goals and goal objectives. This page can be a little bit tricky to work with if you're not already familiar with the portal. If you run into any issues, we can assist you with it. But basically, you would be clicking these tabs to add your goals and your goal information. And we've added the reminder here about expected outcomes that we want you to keep in mind when you're putting your goals together for your project. You can go to the next slide, please.
Erin.
Yes.
I just wanted to interject. Can you go back one slide, Wanda? One more to key staff, number 4. So we do realize that you want some institutions want to hire key staff. I just kind of wanted to let the field know that we encourage that, but it shouldn't encompass the entire grant, because that doesn't deem state impact just hiring someone. So that's been clarified for me as well as we were revamping the RFA and the commissioners' initiatives. So I just wanted to kind of let you all know about the key staff part. Thanks.
Thanks, Audra. Right, and you can go to the next slide, please. All right, so this is a screenshot of the evaluation plan of what the layout of your goal and goal objective will look like once it's all submitted in the portal. You can see it'll be like a sequence where when you select those tabs, the portion will open up and you can add your information in the boxes below. But you'll start with your goal or your goal name or goal title, and then outline the objective for the goal, including how it will be measured and the data to be collected. And finally, list the associated activities for the goal, and be sure to list the timeline of the goal activities so we can keep track of that portion of your proposal. And we've got it listed below here, the pattern, so you can see that it'll be goal number 1, and then your objective will be goal 1.1, objective 1, with your information listed and how it will be measured and the data collected, and then the list of activities for that objective, and then so on and so forth. If there's additional goal objectives for the first goal, you would just repeat the pattern and just move along depending on how many goals you have, and just remembering that you can have a maximum of 5 goals with your project. And you can go to the next slide, please. And this will be Tanisha's section.
Thank you, Erin.
Welcome.
So let's briefly talk about how to build your budget and its application format in the portal. When building your budget, please reference our Perkins 5 Allowable Cost Guide and Budget Planning Guide that's available on our website. There you'll be able to determine whether a budgeted item is allowable, and it will help you identify its appropriate cost category schedule it belongs in. The cost category schedules are identified as the following. Schedule A is for salaries and fringe benefits. Schedule B is for travel. Schedule C is for capital equipment. Schedule D is for consultants and service contracts. Schedule E is for subgrants. Schedule F is for operating expenses, services, supplies, and books. And Schedule G is for the administrative indirect costs. Once you identify the correct cost category schedule, you click on the appropriate button to build or edit the cost category schedule. The CB100 tab or form will automatically be generated based on the data entered into the cost category schedule. Next slide, please. So this is the application format for your expenditure reports. So what is an expenditure report? An expenditure report is a quarterly report that outlines the funds you have expended or spent from your grant during a specific period and are requesting reimbursement for. This slide shows an example of the report layout that's in the portal. Column A displays your original allocated budget for the grant, and it's broken down by cost category schedules, as you can see, 1 through 6. Column B reflects any budget revisions which are made through approved amendments. Column C shows your revised budget per cost category schedule after accounting for any amendments. And column D reports your actual expenditures. This column is cumulative and it represents the total amount of funds you've expended and are requesting reimbursement for today. Now, this is just a high-level approach on looking at your budget, but as you begin to sit down and fill out this information, if you have any questions, remember to refer to the manuals mentioned. If your answer if you cannot find your answer in the manual, please give me a call and I'll be able to work with you. Next slide.
All right. So how will your applications be assessed? We're going to be looking at the eligibility requirements that you are fulfilling all of those, the requirements that we mentioned earlier, and the completeness of your application. So making sure that we've got those application forms and those federal certification forms complete and submitted on the Smartsheet page. And then the application is complete within the portal, that you've answered all of the questions needed, and we have all the information there. We're also going to be looking at your project quality, collaboration with any stakeholders, goal alignments, and sustainability. And if there is a demonstration of statewide and regional impact, innovation, and evidence to support your proposals. Next slide. We also have the opportunity for bonus points for use of that evidence-based grant-making model. The evidence-based strategies should be, your use of the evidence-based strategy should be aligned with that model. And we'll also look for clear articulation of potential impact based on existing data or pilot results that are included in your application. And next slide, please. All right, and to just in conclusion, to sum everything up, I want to make sure that you focus your proposal on addressing those statewide workforce needs and highlight any strong partnerships and innovative and scalable strategies in your proposals. And be sure to use data and evidence to justify your approach and demonstrate how your project aligns with Texas's strategic workforce initiatives. So thank you so much for your time and giving us your attention today. We encourage you to consider applying and look forward to seeing your proposals. And if you've got any questions, please reach out to us. If you've got questions down the line, we're available to answer them. And of course, we have time available today to take any final questions for you. So we'll open it up for final questions.
There's a question posed in the chat.
Yes.
I might have missed this. This is from Alicia Hodge. I might have missed this, but if your project gets an extension, does that mean another year of funds, or would the funding be for 2 years?
It would mean another year of funds. We are no longer doing 2 years. There'll be 1 year every time for now under this leadership. Any other questions?
Wanda, you can go to the next slide. So we've got our contact information posted for everybody. Yeah.
Any questions, concerns, anything we missed that wasn't clear to you? I did have a question about, is this a separate web page? So for those of you who may have come in late, we currently have the FIP and POP page up. That will be phasing out. And so we'll leave that page up, but we are going to launch our new web page June 11th when the application opens, the RFA is available, and the RFA announcement goes out. So there'll be 2 simultaneous pages, one to phase out FIP and POP, and then the new categories approved by the commissioner. I saw something about a notice of intent, but I think it got deleted. Our notice of intent, yes, it's June 23rd. We don't encourage you to wait that long, but we're giving you that long. The application opens June 11th, so we would love to hear from you probably within that first week. It does close July 9th, so it would be tight if you did your notice of intent June 23rd and then it's due July 9th, but we're giving you that discretion. But After June 23rd, we won't be taking any more proposals, but we do encourage you to submit as early as you can. If your PUP grant, it depends on what your PUP grant was slated for, if it was a 12-year or a 24 months. And I'm talking to Trisha. So when did it start? Did it start in FY? Did it start in FY 23, 23, 24? I don't think so, but I'll get back to you, Trisha. Mindy, you had a question? You might be muted.
Sorry, sorry. No, I put something in our chat. I copied a question from someone that is in the Zoom chat about notice of intent.
Okay, did I see that right? As a case. Okay, no, there is no approval. There's no quote unquote approval process for the notice of intent. The notice of intent is to let us know, one, that you're interested in providing a proposal, and it allows us to create, an application number and password for you to get into the portal. So that's what it's for. It's not to be it's kind of a gatekeeper, but it's a loose one. So yes. Does that answer the question? David? Maybe he's not on here, but David, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. I had to step off for a quick second.
Um, did did that answer your question, or did you want me to restate?
No, I did. Thank you.
Okay. So yes, you are free to automatically request a notice of intent and then propose. Are there any other questions? And like I said, we'll go through the Q&A, and then we will answer the questions again to make sure that they're accurate. All right. I don't see any other questions. So thank you for your time, and we look forward to reading your proposals, and have a good afternoon.